Hi everyone, my name's Andy.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy, and we're Tales from the Hart.
Thank you for joining us yet again. Lovely sunny day here, and while we're in the same place, thought we'd take the opportunity to record another story together. As I'm always the one that usually gives an intro to a story, I'm actually going to let Amy do it this time.
So we're revisiting another folklore legend that we've explored already during our lockdown storytelling, the world of Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest. But this story is one with a little bit of a difference. There's other tales we want to do in the future about how Robin met his other merry men and his other exploits with Prince John and Guy of Gisborne and so on and so forth. But this story is all about how Robin Hood met Maid Marian.
Okay, like an origin story, like a prequel.
Yeah, if you like.
I think they got it with my hat. Do you reckon they guessed what the story was going to be about first?
One would hope.
Anyway, enjoy.
So, more than 800 years ago, a carriage was passing its way through Sherwood Forest. It was guarded by 4 soldiers on horseback, and this coach contained a very important and very rich family, the Fitzwaters, the Baron and Baroness, and a young woman. And despite the armed guard that was following them, as they approached the part of Sherwood Forest known as the Green Wood, the Baron became uneasy, for this stretch of Sherwood Forest was well known amongst the people who lived in Nottingham as being thick full of thieves and bandits.
The Baron had with him his daughter, whose name was Matilda, but everyone who knew her as Marian or Lady Marian. If the bandits attack, thought the Baron, I will give them all the gold that I have on me, all the jewels that I carry with me, as long as they do not harm a hair on my daughter's head.
And then what he feared happened. The bandits jumped down from the trees above, straight onto the roof of the carriage. The armed guards were overpowered, all within less than a minute. It was also skillfully planned. They must have been tracking this coach for a while. The coach driver tried to spur the horses onwards to escape the battle that was happening, but a tree had been felled across their path. They were caught in a trap. Frightened, the Baron expected to hear the age-old cry of highwaymen, stand and deliver, and that they'd be forced to exit the carriage and leave their jewels and valuables. But what happened instead was there was a polite tap on the carriage window.
Excuse me, sir, would you mind stepping outside the carriage? A polite voice requested. Those rascals, thought the Baron, they mock me. And, knees knocking, he did descend from the carriage and was confronted with a man wearing a pointed hat of felt and clad in Lincoln green. And at his side were 6 other men, similarly dressed, armed with longbows and swords. Looking amongst them, the Baron, with a shaking voice, offered his gold and his jewels, saying that I simply have nothing else. Do not harm me or my family. You can have, this is all I have, he spoke, handing over a handful of coins and jewellery.
This was in fact not true, for whilst inside the carriage, the Baroness was busily stuffing her jewels down the front of her dress.
Good gracious, spoke the man in green at the front. Do you honestly think I would hurt a lady? Not at all. But, and here he looked around the Baron and towards his wife, the Baroness. If you'd kindly hand those over, my lady, that is the oldest trick in the book. Just hand them over to my man, Little John, here.
At first the Baroness made to object, and then she looked out of the carriage window and saw the size of Little John, the man that Robin Hood referred to, and, she decided it would be actually best to hand her jewels over. Angry at this moment, Maid Marian opened the door of the carriage and jumped down.
What are you doing? Cried the Baron. Get back here this instant. However, Maid Marian was a spirited young lady, and she was enraged at this point, enraged that these rascals had the cheek to rob her family, to demand they hand over their jewels in broad daylight. So she walked straight up to their leader and, bold as brass, slapped him across the face.
"Take that, you coward! Give me a sword and I'll show you a good fight." The Baron, on hearing this, was absolutely horrified. He had no idea that Marian even had the first idea about how to use a sword. It wasn't a common thing in those days for women to know how to wield a weapon. But he also didn't know that while he would be away on business, that Marian would train with her brothers, which started off as a funny game, but in the end it turned into a competition between her and her brothers, and more often than not she would beat them too nowadays.
"I would that it were a kiss, fair lady, but," and he spoke now, smiling, touching his cheek, "it stings sweetly all the same. Now, in return for the gold and jewels which your father and mother have so generously donated to our cause, which the good people of Nottingham will be very thankful for, we shall escort your carriage to the edge of the woods and see you out safely. I hate to say it, but there are all sorts of unsavoury types living in these woods hereabouts."
At this, Marian's hand flexed angrily. She longed to give this man a slap round the face once again for good measure for his insolence, but she feared that he would in fact go back on his word and harm her parents, and so she did not. She resisted the temptation. Instead, she gave him and the rest of the merry men an angry scowl in their direction. Ugh! And then she stepped back into the carriage.
But the bandits were true to their word, and soon the group reached the edge of Sherwood Forest safe and sound. And as they did, the carriage halted and there was another knock upon the door. It was the leader of the robbers, the man in green with the felt-pointed hat. "My thanks to you, my lord, my lady," he spoke to the Baron and Baroness, "for your generosity today. And you, fiery one," he smiled now at Marian, "I do so desire the pleasure of your company again. Please tell me your name."
Marian wished to do no such thing. She looked the bandit straight in the eye, and in the end she spat out her name. "It's Marian."
"Well, dear Marian, this evening in the greenwood you have won the heart of Robin Hood." And with that he jumped upon his horse and sped away.
"The cheek of it!" the Baroness said indignantly. The Baron, however, was quite relieved, for a lot of people troubled by thieves on the road had received far worse treatment than they had. Marian could not believe her ears. That man there was the famous Robin Hood of legend, really? That swaggering thief is the man of legend who returned from the Crusades to find that his land had been stolen, to find that the people were taxed to high heaven and had no food. That was the same man who stole from the rich to give to the poor, a worthy cause, she privately felt, so not many in her circles felt it so. Unreal. That's what he meant, she thought, when he said the people of Nottingham will be grateful. It should have been so obvious. 2 months later, after this event had taken place, the Baron and Baroness Fitzwater decided that it was high time that Marian was to wed. They started meeting with various rich suitors, but none of them would do for Maid Marian. For you see, they were either too stupid, too boastful, too cruel, or even just plain boring. When Marian was told she had to marry one of them, she was furious. "Do I not have any say in the matter, father? This is my future."
My dear," spoke the Baron, wringing his hands together, "you simply do not know what is best for you yet." But Marian was not someone to let other people decide what was best for her, nor let anyone tell her what to do. And so she saw no other way out. She was going to have to run away. She knew that local boys from poorer families had fled into the forest, fed up with their lot in life to become outlaws, that people who could no longer pay their taxes had fled there as well to avoid the stocks or the whipping post or the hangman's noose. Why could she not do the same? Surely, living in the forest, even a day in the stocks or worse, would be better than living in a loveless marriage. And so she cut her own hair, dressed herself as a page boy, armed herself with a bow and a sword taken from her father's armories, and left a note for her father. And after she left that note, she went down to her father's stable and stole the fastest horse and rode in the dead of night into Sherwood Forest. And the note read,
May I never again have roof but the blue sky, nor canopy but the green leaves, nor barrier but the forest bounds. I am no longer Lady Matilda Fitzwater of Arlingford Castle, but plain Maid Marian of Sherwood Forest.
And Marian rode deeper and deeper into the greenwood. And no one knew better than her how dangerous it was to ride into Sherwood Forest that time of night. But so angry was she at her parents and their ideas of arranged marriages, she did not care.
If I meet any robbers on the road, then I'll fight them, and if they kill me, well, so be it. I'll be far worse off at home anyway. Eventually, Marian found a clearing in which there was an old log cabin. It was in need of repair, but Marian thought that perhaps she could mend it and live there. She could go hunting and fishing for food. Ooh, hunting and fishing. The thought of those things made her feel very hungry. And so, while her horse was grazing, she sat down and ate some bread and cheese that she had brought with her. While she was doing this, she heard rustles of footsteps, snapping twigs. She drew her sword and pointed it into the darkness, and she came face to face with a man dressed head to toe in green. Looking closely at him, she recognised him as the one who had faced her and her parents months ago. It was Robin Hood. Hold back! Marian pointed the sword directly at Robin. If you try to rob me, it will cost you your life.
Now Robin was quite intrigued by this young man without a bristle on his chin, who was so spiritedly pointing this blade at him. Hold there, young boy, put the blade away, he said. I'm a simple forester, just come here into the woods to mend my cabin.
No, you're not, Marian said. You're Robin Hood, the famous outlaw. Come any closer and I'll run you through.
Now seeing this sword waving dangerously towards his face, Robin drew his own blade, meaning to deflect it away from him.
But Marian, she saw what was happening, and she thrust forward. He only just managed to deflect her sword from cutting his ear off.
And then they fought. They clashed, they twisted, they parried and they lunged.
Marian drew blood from Robin's cheek as she struck. This blow actually made him a little bit angry.
Ah! He fought back with all of his strength. She was nimble and sure-footed, but even so, he managed to give her a small cut just above the eye.
Ah! She was blinded by her own blood, and so she began to frantically cut and thrust everywhere she could, trying to find him.
Robin managed to get behind her, and disarming her of her sword, managed to wrestle her to the ground. Gently now, lad, gently, calm yourself. Time to stop fighting, we can be friends. I could use a boy like you in my band of followers.
You faithless man! You do not know me. So much for his sweet words about winning his heart. What a lot of hot air that was.
Ah, but I do know you, he smiled, offering a hand to pick her up. You're as impressive with a sword as you once boasted to me, Lady Marian.
You knew it was me the whole time, you roguish maggot!
Such cruel words, lady. They wound me. I am hurt.
Oh, please, don't call me my lady. I'm no longer Lady Matilda. I'm just plain Marian of Sherwood Forest now. You see, Robin, I've run away from home and I can't go back. Did you really mean what you said about joining your merry men? And that's the story of how Maid Marian came to join Robin Hood and the rest of his merry men in Sherwood Forest.
Thank you very much for tuning in as ever, guys. We really appreciate it. we've enjoyed telling it. It's been quite a while since we told this one, isn't it?
It has been, yeah. It's been great though. I love this story.
But yes, hopefully, maybe later in the summer, I'll be back here so we can do some more recordings together. But we will continue doing them online as well, either one or the other, or both of us together, doing more online for you to check out. Please give the video a like if you've enjoyed it, or even if you didn't and want to support us. And yes, as ever, if you did enjoy it and you want to pay it forward rather than us taking any money, if you could give some to the Trussell Trust. They're doing some fantastic work helping people who need the support, getting food and other essential supplies. There's Trussell Trust centres all over the country, and they're always needed, but even more so in these really trying times with COVID-19. So yes, there's a link to that below. So please, as ever, if you can't afford to donate to it, forward the video on. It will have the link. Maybe someone else can. Over to you.
Yeah, that's kind of it, really. Yeah, just please do share the video with your friends and family. If you haven't liked us on Facebook, then please do so, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got quite a collection of stories now in our lockdown storytelling playlist.
Built some up, haven't we?
We have. So if this is the first one you've seen, where have you been? Click the subscribe button. And if you click the bell icon within YouTube, then you get notified every time we release a new video so that you never miss one. We release new content every Thursday, for it is Folklore Thursday. And that's normally at 11 AM or every Thursday. So yeah, please do come see us again soon, virtually.
I will miss having a garden to swing a sword around in. Yes, I don't think I should do that in my flat. But yes.
No, that's true. Please don't do that in your flat.
Maybe a little dagger. But yes, thank you for joining us for this Folklore Thursday, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, take care everyone. See
Bye-bye.
you again. Bye.